Father, kuja pande.
Give us yes, statement. Please proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
We are together with border riders from this city.
As a nation, we declared in the preamble of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 that we are proud of our ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity, to which we can also add political persuasions that form the basis of our democracy. These differences should always draw us to sit and converse, and should never be the reason for divisions and conflict. Our recommendations on the agenda items set out by the committee. Having considered the 5 agenda items outlined in the notice for public participation, we make the following observations as NCCK and our recommendations as well. The first agenda is outstanding constitutional matters. Article 43 of the Constitution, the cost of living and related issues. The National Council of Churches of Kenya, individually and in partnership with other faith institutions, has routinely addressed itself on this matter. We observe that the triple threats of rampant corruption, massive wastage in government, and unmanageable public debt are the primary drivers of poverty, high cost of living, and the overall economic challenges facing our country. This has imposed on the citizenry a very heavy taxation burden, in which the few who are engaged in formal employment and those with formal business bear the weight of the nation. The perpetual growth in demand for financial resources by the state has been rising faster than the tax-paying base, resulting in a situation where the portion of income that Kenyans surrender to the state as tax increases each year. This trajectory is not sustainable. We also do observe that this year, Kenyans are having to grapple with an instantaneous radical increase in school fees charged by public institutions of higher learning. The new guidelines bear the potential of making education a preserve for the rich, which will negate the stated aspirations of the government to uplift the poor. So our recommendations are, in view of the foregoing, we recommend the following measures to promote attainment of the aspirations of Article 43 of the Constitution of Kenya. A, Finance Act 2023 be reviewed to reduce the tax burden imposed on Kenyans. B, Parliament to review and allocate resources for implementation of the National Food Security Policy and Strategy, with a goal of ensuring that each Kenyan is assured of their next meal, which will free them to focus on personal and societal development. C, institution of a forensic audit of the national debt to ensure that Kenyans pay back only those debts that were actually taken and were used for the intended purposes. D, institution of measures to incentivize localized industrialization to enhance the value of Kenya's exports, coupled with capping of the exportation of raw materials to encourage local processing, which combined will create jobs and increase household incomes. E, a process that entails intensive public participation to be undertaken to develop a realistic anti-corruption strategy be initiated, with a commitment that the recommendations will be implemented in a fair and just manner. Then we come to the implementation of the 2/3 gender rule. Our observations. Over the last 13 years, different initiatives have recommended measures and strategies to facilitate implementation of Article 27 of the Constitution, which states as follows. In addition to measures contemplated in Clause 6, the state shall take legislative and other measures to implement the principle that not more than 2/3 of the members of elective or appointive bodies shall be of the same gender. Overall, the observation has been that in providing for the membership of the National Assembly, Article 97, and Senate, Article 98, the Constitution failed to include a provision similar to Article 177, which is providing for members of the county assemblies states the number of special seat members necessary to ensure that no more than 2/3 of the membership of the assembly are of the same gender. Similarly, a parallel provision of the national level, legislature and the cabinet is lacking with regard to what is provided in Article 197, which states not more than 2/3 of the members of any county assembly or county executive committee should be of the same gender. The primary recommendation then has been that the Constitution be amended to roll upwards the gender-related provisions made at the county level to the national level. Our recommendations as NCCK, having considered the foregoing, the NCCK holds that singularity of the amendment of the Constitution will not resolve the gap in implementation of the 2/3 gender rule. We therefore recommend the following. A, the state to prepare and release a comprehensive report detailing the measures taken to comply with the provisions in Article 27, subsection 8. The report should show laws, policies, and strategies, as well as reporting on actions taken when state bodies, organs, and committees have failed to adhere to the rule. B, public participation be facilitated to enable Kenyans input on the legislation, policies, and strategies for compliance with the Constitution through implementation of the 2/3 gender rule. C, Parliament to comply with the requirements of Article 100 by developing and enacting the required legislation. On governance issues, including promoting national unity and inclusivity in public appointments, remember this is one of the other agenda, our observation is that the biggest impediment to good governance in Kenya is the overweening prevalence of impunity, under which state and non-state officials break the law with abandon, with confidence that they would not face attendant consequences. Gross misconduct, including actions and sentiments that threaten national cohesion, go unpunished. On its part, the sense of impunity is facilitated by the wide-scale capture and weakening of the independent commissions and other institutions tasked with safeguarding the rule of law by politicians and financial elites.
Our observation is that prior to 1991, elections in Kenya were managed by the government through the provincial administration. With the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution in 1991, the Electoral Commission of Kenya was established with Justice Sakias Chesoni as the first chairman. Justice Chesoni and his fellow commissioners were appointed by the President Daniel Arap Moi. In the lead-up to the 1997 elections, the Inter-Parties Parliamentary Group, IPPG, process provided ground for the appointment of new members of the ECK. Through the arrangement, each of the political parties appointed persons to be commissioners tasked with overseeing the 1997 general election. Honorable Samuel Kivitu was appointed the chairperson. He was to oversee the 1997, the 2002, and the 2007 general elections, as well as the 2005 referendum. After the 2007-08 post-election violence, which was driven by the accusation of rigging in the elections, the Parliament established a select committee that oversaw the recruitment of commissioners of the Interim Independent Electoral Commission. After the promulgation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the IEBC Act 2011 was enacted. It provided for the establishment of a broad-based panel to oversee the recruitment of the IEBC commissioners. It was this panel that appointed Honorable Isaac Hassan, the chairperson, enabling him to oversee the 2013 general elections. Following accusations that the IEBC had rigged the elections, Commissioner Isaac Hassan team was removed from office in 2016 and were replaced by a team led by Chairman Wafula Chebukati. On the heels of the accusation of rigging in 2017 elections, 4 commissioners resigned and were replaced in December 2021. On the tail end of 2022 general election, the 4 new commissioners dissented with the result set to be announced by Chairman Wafula Chebukati, and 3 of them subsequently resigned. One commissioner, Irene Masit, was taken through a tribunal that recommended her removal from office. In January 2023, the term of office of Wafula Chebukati and 2 other members came to an end. In view of the vacancies of the commissioners, the National Assembly passed the IEBC Amendment Bill 2022. It was assented to by the President in January 2023. Thereafter, the IEBC selection panel was appointed as provided for in the Act. The panel advertised the vacancies of commissioners and the chairperson of the commission and commenced the process of reviewing the applications received. It is in this context that the Azimio la Umoja coalition expressed dissatisfaction with the process. Instead of demanding reconstitution of the IEBC away from the process outlined in the Act. Recent media reports indicate that some political actors are proposing to set up a similar IEBC to that of 1997 IPPG process, whereby political parties appointed the IEBC commissioners. We recommend that in view of the foregoing, review of the appointment of IEBC commissioners in the past, we strongly recommend that political parties should not play a role in the process. As a core principle, a player should not be one to select the referee. Recognizing that the operations of the selection panel have been paralyzed by political process, especially with regard to the bipartisan talks, we recognize that we have 4 options for the country. Option 1, we expand the selection panel by adding new members. The implication is that the new members nominated by political parties are appointed to the panel. And the implication is that similar representation was provided in the 2016 panel that appointed Chebukati and his team. Option 2 is reconstruction of the selection panel, where some members are removed and others are retained. The implication is that new members nominated by political parties are added, while some existing ones are removed. We remark that the panel would be considered overly political, with implication that retained members are those who agree to follow the political leanings or the other. Option 3, the selection panel is facilitated to complete its work. The implication is that the dialogue committee agrees to allow the current process to proceed to its conclusion. The implication also is that the prevailing discontent might persist. And number 4, option 4, is the reconstitution of the selection panel, where new members of the selection panel are appointed per the law afresh. And this will provide a win-win situation. So in view of the foregoing analysis, we recommend the following. 1, that the selection panel is reconstituted to facilitate a mutually agreed upon process. And 2, that the IEBC Act is amended to provide that in future, the selection panel will present only 1 name for the chairperson nominee and 6 names for the commissioner's position. 2 is the boundary delimitation. The Constitution of Kenya in Article 89 provides for the delimitation of electoral units. To the extent of delimitation is that at the county level, IEBC has no powers to delimit them. Constituencies, they have powers to change the boundaries, to balance population quota, or to change the names of the constituencies. For the ward levels, they have 3 powers: to change the boundaries, to create new wards or remove existing ones, and to change the names of the wards. In this regard, the National Dialogue Committee should not entertain any discussions that would result in any changes in the numbers or boundaries of counties or the number of constituencies. We therefore recommend that the committee facilitate the IBC to undertake the constitutionally mandated task of boundary delimitation within the set time limits. We recommend that the National Dialogue Committee facilitates the selection of the new IBC commissioners in the soonest possible manner. The audit of the 2022 presidential election. Under Article 181 of the Constitution of Kenya, it provides that the core principles of the election and democratic process. We are nonetheless cognizant of the expression of discontent by the Azimio la Umoja coalition with the results of the presidential election 2022, with persistent request for the audit of the polls. We nonetheless caution against a process that would weaken the trust in the functions of institutions. We therefore recommend that, in view of the foregoing, we recommend the enactment of legislation to establish a judicial commission to carry out an audit of the 2022 general elections to ensure the process promotes peace, stability, and national cohesion.